What happens when a former Trump advisor makes a bold claim on live radio and then gets asked one simple question? What follows is a tense exchange that quickly turns uncomfortable as the interviewer presses for answers and the argument begins to unravel in real time. Before we dive into the full story, comment where you're watching from, and don't forget to like and subscribe so you don't miss the next one. Let's watch the clip and then break down exactly what happened.
It's funny that you think that he's taking a dig. Do you not think that when an 82-year-old man is arrested for posting something on Facebook, that is not a form of censorship?
Well, it depends what he posts, doesn't it? It depends if it's legal.
Well,
what did that 82-year-old man post?
Well, let's back up a minute here. If we are starting to scrutinize everything that someone says, if we're arresting them because it is hate speech.
What is you mentioned a specific case there. What is it this 82-year-old was arrested for?
Honestly, I can't remember, but what I do remember...
You're telling me that it's outrageous that an 82-year-old man was...
Back up a minute.
No, sorry, this is important because you just said this is an example of free speech under threat in the UK, but you can't tell me what he was arrested for.
I don't remember the
So why you bring it up then?
I brought it up as an example that if we are scrutinizing what an 82-year-old man posts on Facebook...
But you can't assess that without knowing what he said, can you?
Well, you know what? Let's just say I brought up a wrong example because I don't have the context
Could it possibly be
now.
Because it's all a load of nonsense and free speech isn't under threat in the UK at all, which I think you've just demonstrated respectfully?
You know what? I've been there I've lived in the UK for 24 years. And yes, I do believe that censorship, it started with political correctness.
Right.
And as political correctness moved from accusing people of microaggressions and then people getting triggered over what somebody said, it has been a form of putting a speech straitjacket on people.
So what can't you say in the UK right now without being arrested that you think people should have the right to say?
You know what? That's a very good question.
It is. Thank you.
It is. I can't answer that question, and I can't give you an example exactly. But see,
so
what I
find
interesting.
Sorry, Jane. You've given me an example of free speech being under threat. You can't tell me what the person said.
Well,
I've asked you for one single thing that you can't say in the UK without the fear of being arrested, and you can't think of anything. It's because Britain still is a country, compared to the United States, by the way, where free speech absolutely exists and always will.
Well, we both see it differently then.
But you can't give me any single point of evidence whatsoever to back up your idea.
Why don't you give me an example of how free speech still exists and censorship is not there?
Because you don't get arrested by the police for saying anything that isn't incitement or hate speech in this country. People are free to express their opinions. People are free to give their views. We do not have a police state in this country, unlike, I might say, the way that the United States is going under Donald Trump.
Well, you know, that's interesting because it's not going that way with Donald Trump. It was going that way, and it's now reversing itself.
Right. So banning journalists from the White House because you don't like what they've written, demanding the impeachment of judges because you don't like what they've ruled, sacking government officials because they've dared to criticise you at any point in recent years, defunding universities because they're not doing what you do, threatening law firms if they don't toe the party line, defunding media organisations that you think are against you, arresting students because of what they've written on social media, and ramping up checks of people entering the UK to check they haven't posted anything on Facebook that you don't like, doesn't amount to any sort of attack on free speech.
That's really twisting things without the specific examples. You're giving...
They're facts.
No, you're giving examples the same way I gave the example of the 82-year-old man.
You didn't give any examples, and I've just given you 10.
No, you've just given me a very biased perspective.
Bias is facts. All of those things have happened. Which of those haven't happened? Have journalists been banned from the White House under the Trump administration?
Have journalists been banned, or have they brought in alternative media that presents a different
I'm not talking about
angle.
Have journalists from organisations like the Associated Press been banned by the White House? Yes or no?
Yes, they have.
Right. Have judges been threatened with
But wait a
impeachment
minute.
because the White House doesn't like their rulings?
Wait
Yes
a
or
minute.
no?
Let's not do it that way. Let's go back to
Because the
that.
answer's
And
yes.
why were they? Why were they banned?
But so, okay, so
They
we
were-
accept, right, are we accepting that all the things I just
You know
suggested
what?
have happened?
If you don't let me finish, then we can't really have a conversation here because you've got a very biased perspective
I'm not
here,
biased at
a
all.
very angle.
I'm giving you facts, and I'm just asking whether you recognise that those things are true.
No. You know what? It's so interesting. Did we not have a bunch of fake news here? And in the U.S., we did. And why? Why did we have fake news? Because it was biased and it was wrong. And so that is one of the reasons. You know, you're listing 10 things and cutting me off.
All right.
But then why was the Associated Press no longer welcome? Because they gave fake news that has been
but
proven.
Jenny, you coming on the national radio station here on LBC and saying an 82-year-old man being arrested is an attack on free speech without having a clue what he's actually said is not fake news at all.
It's not that I haven't had a clue. I can't remember the specifics.
Right.
But the fact that
But how can you know it's an
police show up-
attack on free speech if you can't remember what he'd actually said?
Well, you know, it's very interesting because you started this off by saying J.D. Vance had a dig. And so we don't get to have an intelligent discussion about whether there really is censorship going on, if people are afraid to speak
But he has
out.
had a dig, and that's his own language. He said previously when he talked about the
No,
UK...
you called it a dig.
And honestly, that's what made this exchange so remarkable. This wasn't about winning a political argument. It was about being able to defend a claim when challenged. Dr. Jan Halper-Hayes came into this interview arguing that free speech is under threat, but when she was asked for a specific example, the entire argument seemed to fall apart. The most striking moment wasn't the disagreement itself. It was the fact that a simple follow-up question never received a clear answer. If you're making a serious claim on national radio, people are naturally going to expect evidence to back it up. What made the interview even more interesting was the contrast between the claims being made and the examples the interviewer raised in response. Whether you agree or disagree politically, viewers could clearly see who was answering questions directly and who was struggling to do so. By the end of the exchange, the conversation had shifted completely. What started as a discussion about free speech became a discussion about credibility. But that's just my take. What did you think? Did the interviewer make a strong case? Or do you think Dr. Halper-Hayes was treated unfairly? Let me know in the comments below. If you enjoyed the video, don't forget to like, subscribe, and turn on notifications for more political commentary. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you in the next one.